Hi friends, Prepared Suburbanite here. I've got some thoughts about the news and the news media, and I want to share those thoughts with you, so stay tuned right after this. As a young lad growing up, back in my small hometown, we had 3 television channels available to us, and that was it. We had an ABC affiliate, an NBC affiliate, and a CBS affiliate, but that CBS affiliate was in a city about 60 miles away. At news time, at 6 p.m., our 2 local stations would broadcast a half an hour of news, generally broken up into segments that were maybe 10 minutes on national news, 10 minutes on local news, a couple minutes on the stock market, a few minutes on sports, a few minutes on the weather, and that was all they had time for. Right after that, 6:30, 7 o'clock, the evening news would come on from the national news broadcast channels. So if you remember folks like Walter Cronkite, Chet Huntley, David Brinkley, you can remember that they had a half an hour format for their news broadcasts back in the late 50s and through the 60s, and that was it. You had a half an hour of national news brought to you by what I would consider in today's world objective journalists. There was very little opinion. It was, here's the story, here's the facts, here's the next story, here's those facts. And it was they allowed us to listen to those facts, form an opinion, and feel like we knew what was going on. When that era ended, after Walter Cronkite retired, and Chet Huntley and David Brinkley, a few of the others that were stalwarts in the news anchor business back in the 50s and 60s, when they retired, the world began to change, and we entered the realm of opinion news, where they would take the story, take the set of facts, and sprinkle it with their opinions. And their opinions were very driven by their own personal opinions, sometimes by the opinions or the dogma of that individual network that would say, here's how we want you to spin this. And we entered the era of opinion news. Now today, news has ballooned into pretty much a full-time 24-hour-a-day, 7 days a week venue on multiple cable channels. Fox News, Fox Business, MSNBC, CNN, CNBC. Those folks are trying to expand the news into a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week format. And the only way that they can continue to report news as we knew it is to sprinkle it with their own personal opinions, which means that they can espouse that opinion, tell you what they're thinking, and try to convince you to think the way they think about whatever the news situation is. And I'm not going to get into a whole lot of detail about who's right or who's wrong and what spin is the right spin and what spin's the wrong spin. What I'm saying, basically, is a number of years ago, we had maybe an hour's worth of news once a day, 5 days a week. Now we have 24-hour news, opinion news, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it's always there. There's opinion shows, there's talk shows, there's groupthink, there's guests that they bring onto the show that shares their own viewpoints and their own opinions about things, and they ask them questions that get the predictable answers. I'm not sure how much real, live, objective journalism we're getting anymore from any of the stations, whether it's MSNBC or Fox News, two of the ones that are on either end of the parallel of journalistic integrity, I guess. Maybe integrity is not the right word. I guess just in the realm of journalism, which I don't think is journalism anymore. Trying to fill the gap, to fill up 24 hours a day of news broadcasting and news reporting, they've had to sprinkle, in liberal doses of sprinkling, I would think, pouring it right on with opinions, with theory, with you name it. They're coming up with the guests that they choose to come on to their show and share their opinions. Those guests do nothing really but parrot their own opinions about the opinion news that they're trying to report on. I grow weary of it. I don't think it's doing us any good at all. I think it's fueled the fire of divisiveness in this country by having such opinions out there. The Fourth Estate was there. The newspaper reporters in the olden days that were considered the Fourth Estate, they were there to report the news, to give the populace the facts of what was going on in their governments, in their local towns, in the national scene. And they were very well respected, and it was realized by the general population that those kinds of folks were absolutely needed and necessary to keep an eye on what was going on in the political and governmental environments. That's where the Fourth Estate came in. That's where freedom of the press came from. The press was really there to ask the tough questions, to bring out the real news, the stuff that's kind of hidden behind the headlines. And what they did was a service to the general population. They brought out issues, they brought out facts, and reported those issues and facts to the general population, who were then allowed to think, form their own opinions, do their own research, ask their own questions of each other, and move along. But we only had an hour. Had a half an hour of local news, and we had a half an hour of national news, and that was it as a kid growing up. Now, you just can't get away from it. It's 24/7, and it's not doing us any good. This is the Prepared Suburbanite reminding you to think.